It was an attempt to see if I agreed that the other parent was being unreasonable or was in the wrong. I remember being confused at first, wondering why these people, who were supposed to be competent adults, were acting so badly. And then it hit me. They didn't know how to handle their problems. To 15-year-old me, this was nothing short of a revelation. My parents weren't trying to act like assholes. They didn't intend to put their problems on me or make our home tense and unlivable. They were desperate. They were intelligent and decent human beings, but hadn't a clue how to manage that particular stage of their relationship. And here's the important part. The pain of it was driving them to act badly, and their acting badly was driving a wedge between us. You're probably thinking, yeah, so what? I've been through way worse. Or, I know kids whose family problems are much bigger. I know those kids too, and I agree. I'm sharing this story because the ordinary situation of my parents' marriage problems led me to see that my parents didn't know what the hell they were doing. They weren't any better equipped to handle the stresses of life than anyone else, and anyone else included me. That was the big realization. In that moment, a shift occurred in which I started to see my parents differently. They went from being my mother and father to a couple of people who were struggling. Individuals who had gotten far enough in life to have a marriage, kids, careers, and a house, but didn't know what to do next. It's incredibly common stuff, I know, but here's the really interesting part. What followed was not a surge of empathy or understanding from me. It was anger. I was angry that one of the core rules of life, as I understood it, had been broken. Parents were supposed to have their shit together, and mine didn't. Parents were supposed to be there for their kids. Mine weren't. Because of this, I was going to have to rely on myself more. Sure, I'd still need plenty of help and support from them, especially around the basics of food, clothing, money, and transportation. But with the big things like figuring out relationships and finding meaning, I was quite likely on my own. This was a scary thought, but it was also exciting. I felt the burden of responsibility, but also the possibility of freedom. And it has taken the last 37 years to begin to understand the connection between those two things: freedom and responsibility. We're going to explore that connection in this book, but don't worry, it's not going to take you nearly as long to figure it out, and you don't have to become a psychologist to do so. Second answer. I was inspired to write this book by teens I've met and talked with across the country, in places like New York, California, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. Some of these teens were from wealthy families, while others lived in public housing. Some were dedicated students and athletes, while many preferred to play video games, read fantasy novels, or hang out with friends. Most were sad and lonely. No matter the differences of money, status, or lifestyle, many of the teens I've known had one thing in common. They felt disconnected from their parents and wanted to get along better with them. They wanted to feel more warmth and love in that relationship, even those who had experienced years of abuse and neglect. They still wanted to be close to their parents and feel like they belonged. Maybe this shouldn't surprise me. These are the things everyone wants. It's what I want too, for myself, my children, and the teens I get to know at work. As a parent, I've made more mistakes than I can count. I'm still making them, but I keep trying to learn and grow. It's the same at work, repeated over the span of thousands of teens and their families with that one constant. Teens want to get along better with their parents. They might come into my office asking for help with attention, moods, grades, or other life problems.